Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today it is January 1st of 2022, and it's about 3:30 a.m. in the morning, and this is my first YouTube video for 2022. I guess most of the fireworks and gunshots have stopped for the New Year's Day. Of course, fireworks are illegal here in Fort Worth. They're illegal, well, they're against the rules for the apartment complex. When I'm 80 years of age. When I was growing up, fireworks were pretty much permitted, and it was pretty chaotic. I mean, you'd be walking down the sidewalk, and some kid would, throw fireworks at you. The air was filled with, smoke. Everybody was shooting fireworks. And then eventually cities and different jurisdictions, made fireworks illegal. But they still go on. And then, of course, at some point, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was always men, I'm sure 99.9%, began to shoot off, guns and shooting into the air, and occasionally one of those rounds comes down and kills somebody or injures them. I forget what the dates were. Back for about 10 years, I think less than 10 years, I was a reserve police officer for a small town, and when I joined up with them, I was the seventh one. So we had one for every night. So we would go, one of us would, I think Sunday night was my night. And because I was working hospital security, for a large part of that, I had at work I think Monday and Tuesday off. I think that was it. So since Sunday, I could, I could stay over as late as I, wanted to. I mean, it was totally up to the reserve officer. Now, there was a few times that the Raymore Police Department, the chief called, not just me, but others, and occasionally, could you come in and work a day shift? Or do something like that, and we got paid for that. Not much, but we got paid for that. But I usually went in about 7 p.m. on a Sunday night, but sometimes there's a few times because I didn't want to be too predictable. I'd go in, earlier. And then most of the guys, I think, when they patrolled, maybe patrolled till midnight or 1 a.m. or something like that, because most of those guys, had day jobs. But I usually patrol till, 1, 2 a.m. in the morning, maybe a little bit later, because I didn't have to work Monday. Eventually, after several years, we got a dispatcher. We still didn't have any full-time officers. Well, I think we had it right from the beginning. Of course, we had a dispatcher, and that was the Cass County Sheriff's Department. We used their frequency, and, that didn't work out too well. And then eventually, the department got a dispatcher. So we had a hired dispatcher, at the city hall where the police department had a few rooms or something set up there. And so we had a dispatcher, but we still had reserve, reserve officers. And then eventually we had a officer who was, a paid officer, full-time officer, and he worked a midnight shift. So what I did then is I tried to stay over as late as I could, so he'd have somebody to back him up, without having to try to get the sheriff's department to respond, or I mean, in a real emergency, the closest city would have, they would have sent an officer or officers if needed. It happened a few times. Then gradually, the department got staffed up with, full-time officers. I was offered a job at, when openings became available, but I couldn't afford to take it because it was quite a bit less than what I was making as a hospital security officer. One of the guys who worked at the hospital that I worked at, he took the job, but his wife was an RN and she made good money. So basically, she was subsidizing the city of Raymore, Missouri. Eventually a Walmart, Walmart had a store right on the edge of Belton, Missouri, which edged right up on the city limits of Raymore. And then they moved. Walmart just moved a couple blocks. And that put them into the city limits of Raymore, Missouri. And then there was good tax money coming into Raymore. And then the department, got better equipment. They could pay better, and all that kind of stuff. But how did I get on this subject? Oh, I know one New Year's Eve that I patrolled by myself, and that was the 4th. It was the 4th of July, and fireworks were illegal. It seemed like every house were shooting fireworks, So I was, patrolling up and down the streets, and it was hard to see from the smoke coming in from all of the fireworks. And I didn't give any tickets or, anything like that. If I had given a ticket to somebody, the people next door to them and the people next door to them, there would have been, one person, by the time I made all the paperwork and did everything. So I just patrol looking for, bad guys or fires or, something like that. But at least the people were, they knew it was illegal. But at least they made the appearance, as I drove down, they didn't give me the finger or anything like that. They'd wave or something. They were just, throwing fireworks or doing something. They'd see me coming, and then they would act like, they weren't. And I'd go on by. Well, let's see. Betty White, a actress, just died at age 99. She was really loved by, I think everybody just the parts that she played, and just her personality and everything. And she passed away in a few days she would have been 100, but she made it to 99. Let's see what else is going on. Warren Buffett, a rich guy, I think the corporation he owns, now I forget, I'm not getting this probably correct, but the corporation that he owns, which is like an investment, because I think his company owns like either Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola, and then he owns through that corporation a whole bunch of other, I don't know, eating places, and I mean a lot. And Bernie Sanders, a United States Senator, uh, uh, I guess said at some point, to Warren Buffett, pay your workers better. That's not my job. And Bernie Sanders is a United States senator, and so Congress, sets like minimum wage and stuff like that, and minimum wage has not kept pace. If if you look at the statistics, the person who's getting minimum wage, and you can't make it on minimum wage. Not if that's your full-time job. Not even probably if you have a couple minimum wage jobs or something. And what happens is taxpayers, are like, okay, Walmart is a big employer of people. If you're outside the United States, I think even if you're outside, you probably know about Walmart. They sell a lot of stuff, and they sell it inexpensively, but they get it from like China, where the people over there are, not being paid what they should be paid, and conditions are not, the best, but they bring it in here, and then, it gets brought in and sold at Walmart, and people like Walmart. But when you go now, I'm not sure when it's when it changed. Like I said, I'm 80. But maybe you go in there and everything is made. It appears that everything is made in China, in Walmart, and they're good, good prices. Right now, there are some problems between the United States and China, and it appears also now between the United States and not the USSR, but Russia. But China needs the United States to buy their products, and the United States needs their products to sell. If we had to get it from someplace that was more expensive, or where we don't have the manufacturing, it's all moved out of the United States. If we had the places here to manufacture it, but it would be it'd be more expensive, because of the employees in China and other countries, that they're being paid less, so the product costs less. If we made the product in the United States, it'd be more, the product would be quite a bit more expensive. That's why, the nations all need each other. Let's see, CNN, what else? Suspects in Illinois hotel shooting that left an officer dead and another critically hurt. 6 people injured after multiple shooters fire. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to. I thought, I got to remind myself somehow too. I'm sorry. Anyway, well, stuff's still on the screen, I think. Let's see, 6 people injured after multiple shooters fire 87 shots in Philadelphia. Hello, welcome to America. We're number one. Um, let's see photos of New Year's celebration from across the globe. I'm looking at the headlines. I guess you are too. Maybe, you know, not the big headlines now. Oh. Let me move this microphone up a little bit closer to wave 3. I got to wave 3. Skier backflip attempt goes horribly wrong. Retired NFL player hires ex-convicts for delivery business. I don't know about other countries, but here in the United States, if you're an ex-convict, you know, if you've been to prison and you come out, it's hard to get, you know, to get hired. I think I know, not that I've ever been an ex-convict or a convict, but it's difficult. That's a problem, you know. And I can understand, you know, what jobs are the ex-convicts, you know, going to get. You know, I guess it depends on their, you know, their crime or whatever. But it's a problem. And then too, I don't think that. I guess it depends on the prison. I guess federal prisons might be better. I don't know. There's a guy that served 12 and a half years in prison for being a jewel robber. He had connections with the mobs, and that was his specialty. He stole diamonds, in fact. And if I run across his link, I'll put it below. And even if I don't get it done today, which I won't because I'm going to go to bed here in a little bit, eventually I'll find it again and I'll put it. And he talks about he has recommendations, and he'd like to fix the prison system, which he says is just horrendously bad. Also, another thing we have in the United States, which we should not have, is we have prisons that are the government contracts with. They're private prisons, and the federal government, you know, puts prisoners in those prisons, and there's a lot of problems with it. I won't go into it. You know, there's people much smarter than I am about that, but that's not a good thing. The right wing and Republicans, they hate, well, they hate unions, and they like, well, they don't want federal employees or, you know, state or city employees. They want private companies to handle that. And I don't think that, maybe in some cases that might work out, but it doesn't work out. It's not good to have prisons that are private corporations, and the federal government is paying them, and the federal government has made contracts with these prisons that are built. Got something in my eye. They make contracts with these private companies to make sure that the prisons are filled with, you know, I don't know what the number is, 80% or 85% occupancy or whatever. I mean, it's just a bad system. When we went here in the United States to transport, having TSA, transportation, at the airports, security at the airports. The Republicans in the right wing just went crazy because they didn't want federal employees. They wanted, contract employees to be doing that. And actually, I think there's some conditions. So there are some airports, like I believe still Kansas City. I may have to stop this video. Kansas City, Missouri, KCI Airport, went with, private contractor security employees. And of course they had to meet certain standards, and then I'm not sure if they're still private, I worked private security. Well, for a year I had my own company, but all I had was myself and, well, for a little bit, one other person, because it was a patrol service. I patrolled an area. I talked about that. Talked about the liquor store that was in a bad area. Not a bad area because of, because there wasn't a bunch of houses or things around there. It was a bad area because it was a liquor store and it was the only thing there, and it was right at the conjunction of all, highways. I mean, and so when somebody would rob the place, they had, like, I don't know, 5, 6 different directions they could go, or immediately up a ramp and on, And when I was, signing up customers for my patrol service, I went there, and I told this story before, so I won't go into big detail, but the 2 people were working, the employees were working. I went in and explained, and they said, "Oh, please, we want your service. We really don't feel comfortable here, and could you come back?" The boss comes back the boss will be, coming in at 1 a.m. or something like that. I can't remember. And so I came back. They said, "Please come back. Will you come back?" I said, "Sure." I came back, and the guy was really arrogant, and really wouldn't even hardly listen to me. And so, I didn't sign him up. I would have been there probably, you don't want to be any place, on a regular, but I would have probably been there most times when they closed up. And about a week or 2 later, the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department came by, I guess probably before the midnight shift officer was going to go off duty, so like 6 in the morning, something like that. Found the door, to the liquor store open, or unlocked at least. And the couple that worked in there, were missing, and they found their bodies. The police found their bodies a day or 2 later or something. So I feel bad about that. If the guy hadn't been so arrogant, I would have said, "Hey, let me just patrol for a month and then see, no charge," and then, I would have done that. And I would have been, I had a small area that I patrolled. I could have made more money, because that's what the other security patrol services like that's what they did. They just took a big area. Well, I worked for a short period of time for a company called Watchman Service. Their headquarters is in Overland Park, Kansas, and they hired me, and I patrolled all of Overland Park, Kansas. I mean, and Olathe, part of Olathe. Well, they had a couple of accounts in Olathe I had to go to. It was just horrible. You could set your watch by me because I had to be at certain places at certain times exactly. So, it was not a good situation. And then they were doing they had a young guy that, that an older couple owned the business, and maybe when they ran it, maybe it was better. I doubt it. But then they had this guy that, was arrogant. And when I first got called out there because when I first started there, they put me in a small art, well, it was the Kansas City Art Institute, a school for artists. And they had a small museum, or a gallery. And so they wanted a security guard there to, make sure nobody. So that was a job I had. It was boring as hell. And then they called me and said, come on out to Overland Park. And I went out, their office. I came out. And the guy who was a lieutenant or a captain, he could make himself anything he wanted to be, And there was another employee there. And they were using, this was quite a few years ago, they were using a Radio Shack remote control. And they were calling other security companies who were using a Radio Shack telephone answering machine, and they were using that to retrieve messages that were left on that company's phone, and then they were calling them up and offering their patrol service instead of, And I didn't like that. But I didn't say anything. And so anyway, I patrolled and I did a good job. I did as good as I could do under the circumstances. And then the guy that ran it eventually, I don't know, after months or something, he was an arrogant bastard. He called me and told me to come, to the office. So I went to the office, and that messed with my schedule of checking places, made it even harder. But I went in and he said, okay, I want you to follow this other security company. You forget about your accounts, not checking on them. Just follow him, and then wherever place he shines his light and checks them, write them down. That way he would know, who this guy had signed up. And I said, I really don't, I don't have time to do it. I can't do that. That's what do it. Follow. I said, okay. Of course, I didn't do that. And then a day or two later, he says, have you been following and writing? I said, no, I can't do that. I have to, whatever. And he said, no, I want you have to do that. And I said, no, I don't have to do it. I tell you what, you take this job and, shove it or whatever. So then he called the Kansas City, Missouri Board of Police Commissioners, private commissioning unit that we all got our commission from. And I think it was a sergeant that ran the thing. And I knew him because I had my own patrol service for a while, and then I'd worked for a bunch of other contract guard agencies, Pinkerton, Burns, Wells Fargo, I worked for secondary jobs, I had a full-time job. Like I saved the money that I made from Pinkerton for 1 year, and my wife and my kids, we went down to Mexico, drove down to Mexico, and then drove, into Mexico and Durango, and then down to Mazatlan, and then out and stuff like that. That was our vacation for the year. And, so anyway, I knew the sergeant with the Kansas City, Missouri Board of Police Commissioners, private commissioning unit. So this guy was on the phone. This guy quit on me, and whatever, and I knew, by the way, I knew that what he was going to do before he was, and he said, I knew he would do it because he was a scumbag. He said, he's refusing to give me his commission. And I forget let's say Smith, I forget the sergeant's name. I said, I want to talk to Sergeant Smith before, don't you hang up or whatever. And so then I guess Sergeant Smith must have said, and so I took the phone. I said, this guy is an asshole. I said, I'll bring my commission down in a day or two and turn it in. And I don't trust giving it to him. He'll say he didn't get it. He'll tear it up. He'll make, whatever. So I said, is that okay with you? And he says, yes, Jim, that's fine. Okay. I said, I'll bring it down in a day or two. I took it right down. I took it down I think the same day. But how did I get on that subject? I don't know. So, Wikipedia. Today's feature article is about the black and red broadbill. It's an Asian bird. Let's see, what else? Betty White, of course, passing away. In Hong Kong, the Stand News closed down after their staff are arrested for sedition. Let's see, the Supreme Court of Russia orders the closure of Memorial, Russia's oldest human rights group. Yeah, wow. The United States has a lot of problems, but China has a lot of problems. Russia has a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems in the world. We could just all work together. Let's see. This is Amazon Photos. My Amazon Photos. Huh. This must be Google Photos. Yeah, Google Photos. This was I think our Thanksgiving. Was this our, wait, was this maybe that was Christmas. Turkey, dressing, mashed potatoes, gravy. Oh, I had to go back and get gravy. I forgot to get gravy, and then a biscuit. This is just from the other day. Oh, here is Hillary. This is for Christmas. Hillary brought over. She gave all of us a little bit of money, and she brought over a whole bunch of stuff you can see. Well, that's mainly cheese for my refrigerator there. Actually, there's a few more items than that, and then there's a whole bunch of chocolate she brought over. Wow, wow, a bunch. My ex-wife and I are both diabetic. My youngest son, who's I think 42, I believe. People, I don't know, I have trouble remembering, like birthdays, that kind of stuff. But he probably is diabetic too. He needs to be checked by a doctor. Let's see. Oh, let's see. 12 hours ago, my video 12 hours ago got 39 views. My video 2 days ago has gotten 58 views. I've seen, I was one of the first to sign up for, YouTube. And I don't know how many, I think I have over 1,000 videos, I believe. Not sure. I've seen a lot of YouTubers come, and Zoom, pass me up big time. But I'm, I just want to do things my way, and yeah, I would love to have, a ton of subscribers, but I don't want to be something, I'm not gonna do cat videos. We have a cat, and you know, we like the cat, but let's see. Here's my Facebook page. I don't like Facebook. I've never liked. Oh, I was going to talk about those pictures. That was it. Oops. Where are they? Well, anyway, this is my Facebook page. I don't like Facebook. Anyway, this was the other morning. Whoops, no, it's a video. Okay, but that was that was sunrise, and my Moto G stylus. I'm new, it said sunset or sunrise video mode. It went into it. Now, a few days ago or a week ago, the sky was orange. I'd never seen it like that before. It was orange, and I think I grabbed the correct cell phone. When I took the pictures, of course it was cold then, so I got out as quick as I could. And my son, I told my son, he did the same thing, and on his cell phone also, that color didn't show. So I'm sure that it would have if, we had messed with it, but. Let's see. That's the mouse that I'm using right here. The G502 Hero. It's a nice mouse, and I don't think $39 is a bad price for it. It's keyboards that are but I just added this, and this is a keyboard here that I'm using now. I just added this the other day, and I like it so far. I need to use it a little bit more to really make a decision, but I like it, and I think that's a good price, fair price. The one thing I insist on having is an adjustment for this, for the sound. That dial up here in the corner, The only thing is, the software isn't all that fancy, but it's, it's okay. But the one thing I do like about it is, as soon as I got it, which was just the other day, and I plugged it into my computer, turned my computer on, or my computer was already on, but it's, flashing around doing this kind of thing, and so I went in and decided what colors I wanted and I didn't want them flashing, and I set the keypad is white, and the pause and the delete and the end key and the page up and down is white. The arrows are white. The F keys on the top are red, and regular keys, A, S, D, F, etc., they're green, and that's what I want. And so their software doesn't work with like my Chromebox. I mean, it's just strictly for Windows. But there must be a little memory chip in the keyboard, because when I hooked it up to the Chrome box, or if I'd have hooked it up to an app or something, it retained the colors that I put, that I put in. So that's, that's a good deal. But anyway, I was going to use it on over here, but then I decided to use it over here. It's a little bit smaller, and I like that. And I never really need, the numeric keypad, but it has it, and that's okay. But I could be fine without it, But I think that's it. I even hate to say this. I think the audio is working. I'm using the Elgato Wave 3. For the video, I'm using the Avert Media, and I think that's it. I have the Chrome box over here hooked up and a monitor over here. Anyway, it's 4 a.m. in the morning. I guess I better get to bed. And thank you for watching. And this is well, I may make another video later today if something happens. So, but this is the first video from me on 1/1 of 2022. Thank you very much for watching.